Well, in the last federal election, the people of this riding, Cowichan, Malahat, Langford, elected Conservative Jeff Kibble as their representative. And of course, Vancouver Island, well, it's a long way away from Ottawa. So what does it take to get West Coast issues onto the federal agenda? Jeff's been good enough to join us now for more. Great to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you very much, and great to see you again, Jason. It takes about 12 hours of flying on 2 to 3 aircraft to carry people's voices from the island here to Ottawa, but it is an important job.
Well, and it's something you're learning, of course, firsthand as a first-time MP. What has the experience been like so far?
It's been fantastic. I really love it. I find a lot of parallels to my career when I was in the Navy, and sort of the way things operate and the way people communicate, and also the pace. It's like having 2 full-time jobs, one here in the riding and a second full-time job in Ottawa. But to be honest, I really love it, and I feel really committed to doing this job.
You say members of parliament are like sailors? Is that the parallel you're drawing, or what's the
the way things operate on Parliament Hill is very much like being on a base and operating in a military environment in terms of the way people communicate, the way things are organized, and various systems. There's lots of commonalities, so I felt very well prepared when I got there.
Of course, as we see across a lot of more rural ridings, BC ridings, it's a vast region with a big demographic that you represent. Tell us about the issues you most often hear from your constituents that they want you to bring to Ottawa.
Yeah, a great question, and that is my job, is to listen to and hear people. And for example, today I was out all across the riding, and yesterday, and in fact, they say you're on a break and you come home from Remembrance Week, and it's been 4, 5, 6 events every day where I'm out and listening to people. What I hear the most, I think the biggest concern, especially in the Duncan area, is people are really concerned about their public safety and being safe on the streets when they travel around, and that's probably the biggest one. I've been to many businesses across the riding, and especially here in Duncan, and they're concerned for the well-being, and there's people that are unhoused that also feel unsafe and are preyed upon, and so it's a big challenge right now.
We've seen the government, of course, bring forward changes to bail reform and other topics on public safety. How satisfied are you feeling, given that you're hearing from folks along that?
Well, as far as bail reform goes, our party brought forward a bill, and we were very happy with that bill, and it was voted down. The Liberals brought forward a bill we thought wasn't quite as strong as we would like, but it was a good start, and it's being debated in committee, and they're working towards making a bill that we can all support and get behind. So being a minority government, there's lots of working together, despite what you might see on question period, which is a little more lively and a little more adversarial. To be honest, most of the time it's really trying to work together to come up with a common solution for everybody.
You know, when you talked about some of the parallels you saw from your 28 years in the Navy, one of the things I think, you can tell me if this is an inaccurate stereotype, but I imagine there's a lot of teamwork involved in 3 decades of that.
It takes good.
Exactly. Whereas when we watch question period, to your point, sometimes it can feel a bit adversarial. When you're in opposition, you know, you have to put forward private members' bills, which most often are not accepted. Has that been, just on a personal level, has that been a source of frustration for you to try to navigate?
It's something I've had to accept, that it's a long, slow, democratic process, and you know, that's the nature of the business, so I understand that. Speaking of private members' bill, I drew very high, or I guess a low number. I was 28 selected for private members' bill, so I'm pushing one forward. And I will correct you, private members' bills often do make it through. Sure. That's the whole purpose of it. So I've already tabled my private members' bill, and it will be up for debate in the beginning of November. And it's a long, slow process again. It's got to go through debate several times through committee and then on to Senate for approval. So it's going to help make our communities a little bit safer as far as that bill goes.
Yeah, of course, there's a parliamentary break on right now, which is why we're so glad you could join us to be a part of this broadcast. Are your constituents, are Canadians heading back to the polls? What do you think? Is this minority government going to survive the budget?
That's a great question. I think the minority government will survive the budget, and you know, it's all speculation at the moment, and I guess we'll find out on Monday. But I think it will survive, and my expectation is probably maybe in October next year for election. You know, people are speculating all kinds of different dates, whether it's Monday for a Christmas election, which I don't think most people want, and Some people are saying the spring, and for me personally, I'm putting my money on the fall.
Okay.
But who knows? And I guess that's a pretty safe guess because most minority governments last 18 months, which is about
Yeah, I think
fall.
that's the average.
So
isn't it?
that's
Yeah,
a pretty
exactly.
safe guess.
Just before we let you go, we're so lucky that you were able to join us. We also had the provincial representative for this area as well. So I just want to put the same question to you that I put to Deborah earlier. Your favorite part of representing this region in particular?
Hearing people's stories, hearing what their challenges that they're facing, and then having a small victory. And if I can take a few seconds, a really good example of that was Charlie Pollock, a young girl with a terrible disease who lives in Langford, and myself and a whole bunch of other people advocated for her. And she has required a very expensive medication, and it was being taken away from her. And myself and a whole bunch of other people, was absolutely a team effort. Put pressure on the media, put pressure on provincial and the federal level, and so it was very rewarding that ultimately that decision was overturned. She now is getting her medication. Her life is continuing on as best as it can. She's going to have a longer expectancy of life. That was a huge victory, carrying her voice forward and actually affecting change. So anytime we can affect as small a change as we can, and I guess that was pretty big, then that's the victory, and that's what I get reward from. And I saw a picture of her the other day dressed up for Halloween in her wheelchair going out, and that's the kind of victory. If we can get that and make sure that people's voices are represented in Ottawa, that's what powers me.
Jeff, really appreciate you making the time with us.